Afternoon. Okay, I had a question from a person who wanted to know, he had applied for Social Security Disability and SSI concurrently, which is often a very good idea. And from one of my videos, got the understanding that, wow, I could have applied for both and only get SSI and not SSD. How can that be? So here we go. If you apply for Social Security Disability because you're insured for it, and you will know right away if you're not, because they're going to kick you back a rejection letter, right? Really fast, generally before they even do a medical workup. So it would be probably from the field office. So if you get past that point and you get to the point where they're ordering your records and you would have gotten sent a function report and a work history report. That's all stuff that happens after it moves up to the state agency. Okay, that means you've slid past the part within the field office, which is just kind of paper intake and making sure you actually have the insurance to pursue a claim and have the expense applied to your claim of the medical workup. Okay, so if at the field office you had applied for both SSD and SSI, the SSD, they double check you're insured. They find out when your insurance will run out. If you're at DLI, date less insured, is in the future, cool, you're moving forward. If it is in the past, you might still be moving forward if the alleged date of becoming disabled that you provide when you apply is before that DLI, date less insured. So it's very important to know your date less insured before you apply. And as I've said in other videos, you can do that by calling 1-800-772-1213, dealing with that menu-driven system till you get a live body on the phone and asking for your date last insured for Social Security Disability. Okay, so now let's presume all that's good and we're moving forward and we're at the state level and they're making a determination if you in fact became disabled when you said you did, or if not when you said you did, at any time before your date less insured. If your date less insured is in the future, which it often is for people who have been working steadily up until not too long ago, that would be something that would be ahead of them. Not a big deal. If you were at the medical stage of, say, initial or reconsideration, and you have a date less insured that now passes by because maybe it took 8 months and maybe you were breathing down the neck of your date less insured because you hadn't really been keeping up with your credits or couldn't. That date DLI can then pass you while you're in the middle of a pending claim. If that happens, they will, and they don't find that you were disabled, that there was enough evidence to prove that you were to the satisfaction of the law, that you were disabled before that DLI that just passed. Maybe you have some big stuff coming up, but you didn't have it before that DLI, then you'll get a denial. And if you get a denial, that would be for any disabled period at any disabled period of time from that day that you're denied and forward. But of course, then you would appeal, right? You have an SSI claim and you're like, hey, they just don't have enough evidence. I'm having surgery soon. I'm in the middle of PT. Maybe they didn't get those records, whatever the case may be. Or you just disagree with their finding and you're like, they don't really understand how bad off I am. Okay, so you appeal. And I do have a series of videos on all the denial reasons they might throw at you. So you might want to take a look at those if you do get a denial, because by and large, there are some instances that are, to me, more rare, but we see them regularly where you may not have a really good basis for appealing and you might be wasting your time. But that's more the rarity. I'd say huge percentage wise, huge, 99 something. You would want to appeal if you in fact believe you cannot do any job full time, even the most simple sedentary, easy 5th grade job. Okay, so now we're back at, you get a denial, you appeal. At some point, they might say, no, we do think we found some more evidence and now we think he was disabled for his DLI. Great, now you won. The SSI would still be relevant because there's 5 months of unpaid period. An unpaid period. It's called a waiting period. When you prevail on your SSD claim, it's insurance. And like many insurances, there's a waiting period before you can start collecting. And that's 5 months for Social Security Disability. Now, if you had an SSI claim for those 5 months, and you are generally poor enough for SSI, assuming you're not getting SSD, right? And in the 5 months you're not, you could get SSI for those 5 months, and just those 5 months. And that could be what? 900 and something times 5 months, $4,500 and change. So that's a nice little chunk of change. So that's one reason right there. While SSI, because it takes no extra work aside from just the SSI numbers application, because all the other work is uniform. The same medical information you give for SSD is going to apply to SSI. You don't have to do it twice. Okay, let's say you don't get awarded at that time. And again, they say, we don't think that, you could be at the ALJ stage. And let's say your DLI has not passed, but you were just denied because they still don't think you're disabled down below, initial and recon. You would appeal for an ALJ hearing. Sometimes those waits can be long. It has definitely varied in the last few years. It used to be always really long. Then, maybe in 17, 18, they hired new people and it was kind of great. Maybe by 19, it was great. Then we had COVID and that put a wrench in things. And then things got really fast again when COVID was kind of over. Now it's kind of up in the air because I'm not sure how staffing is working, but I haven't seen it be too bad yet. But anyway, you could be waiting a long time. And if you're not working part-time and in a manner that is not inconsistent with your disabilities and does not surpass the criteria to apply or file or have a pending claim or a prevailing claim, if you're not doing that, your DLI, date less insured, could feasibly expire during all this time. Now we've been going through this, could be a few years, right? And the most a DLI can be, the most is five calendar years since you stopped working. So think of these years passing now. And if you had stopped working and didn't file for a couple of years, that's a couple more that have passed. So you could be in an ALJ scenario, and your DLI passes. Now you go to a hearing and that judge needs to find that you were disabled before your DLI passed in order for you to get Social Security disability. If he cannot find that, but he finds it after your DLI, then you can get the SSI because you had the SSI application concurrent with the SSD. If you didn't have the SSI application, he would have to deny all of your claims because you only had SSD, and that would be it, right? And you would have to go back and now apply for SSI. You wouldn't even be applying for SSD because you don't have any more insured status. Remember, that expired with that DLI that wasn't maintained in some kind of way. So SSI would be the only thing you can now apply for. And the unfortunate part about applying after you get the ALJ denial, which now we're talking months, you get none of that back benefit SSI because SSI does not pay prior to the date of application. There's no big old safety. What you can do as an aside, the second you get that denial and you realize I should have filed for SSI, what do? I don't even know what that is. What do I do? Send a letter to the SSA. You can call them too, but I like everything in writing, so you can send it certified return receipt, or you can fax it to them and keep a copy of the fax confirmation saying, this is my contact for you that I plan on applying for SSI. I request and expect that this contact letter, when you receive it, will count as a protective filing date for my SSI application, which I am now, pursuing. And I understand I need to get it to you within 60 days in full. So that way, if you file, say, in July of 2023 for SSI, or you decide you're going to, you can do that protective filing and you have 60 days to get everything in. And then you'll still have, so that could be what, July, September. That could be, you still have July as a date you applied. So if you do prevail, they will pay you back as if you applied in July instead of applying in September or thereafter because you did the protective filing. Okay. But those are the reasons why, if you are flirting with the criteria for SSI, and that means financial, that means zero to little income between you and any spouses. Income can be gifts, whether it's cash or in kind, like someone's paying your rent, or giving you money to pay, it's a lot of nitpicky criteria. But if your income is very, very little, or if you're working and it's just really low, let's say you're working and you have to be working part-time, of course, and your resources, your countable resources, are less than $2,000 if you're single or $3,000 if you are married. And countable is a term of art within the SSA. Like a house you own that you live in is not countable, so you don't have to count that, because then everybody who owned a house and has a safe roof over their head would not be eligible for SSI if they were dirt broke otherwise. So one house that you live in, any other real estate you have would be counted as a countable resource and would probably put you over the edge. You can have a car too, one that you need for transportation, to doctor's appointments or what have you. A second car is going to be counted. Okay. In between probably you and a spouse. So, it would be probably one between you. Not sure about that, but I think that's the case. If anybody needs to know, I could probably go find out, but otherwise I'm not going to. Anyway, SSI, SSD, if you're anywhere close to, or think you might be in like a month or two. Sometimes we're spending down because we're not working, and next thing you know, all our savings gone. Yes, I could now have applied for SSI, but I didn't think about it and time was going by and blah, blah, blah. So sometimes if you're breathing down the throat of it, you could apply. They might give you a denial on the SSI portion alone, in which case you can appeal that. And now you are poor enough. So that just kind of keeps that ball rolling. So you have to redo everything. And it will just kind of cling together with the SSD. All the medical workup's going to be the same. Whatever they find, they're going to find at the different time periods that may apply to the two different programs. And that's because the SSD has that term insurance and it has limited time applicability. Okay. All right. Any questions? Just ask. And if you have any videos you want me to do, I will try to do them if they're doable. Okay. Got to just let me know. Take care now.